this meeting. أنا هتكلم على writing style and how to write an effective introduction. So my talk is 2 parts. Why it's important to learn scientific writing? Because all postgraduate students are going to prepare an MD or master or MD thesis, or you are going to write a scientific article to get published. When you submit either a thesis or a scientific article, you will be judged by what you write and what you present. And this, what you present, includes content, structures, and style. So the objective of this lecture is to talk about general writing style and how to write an effective introduction. What is the style? The style includes how your paper is organized and structured, how you put the illustrations, the quality, the arrangement, the pattern, everything. And part of this style is the language and writing style. And this is our topic today. Why writing style is important? Because poor writing style can mask brilliant experimentation. ممكن تبقى عامل شغل كويس جدا جدا بس الطريقة اللي انت كتبته بيها ما وصلتش الفكرة. فالشغل ده ما يبقاش accepted. Okay, but keep in mind that poor experimentation couldn't be masked by brilliant writing. يعني مش هتزوق كلام هيغطي على poor experimentation. So good experimentation is a must for good writing style. Mr. Sir William Osler said, in science, the credit goes to the man who convinced the world, not to the man to whom the idea first occurs. And writing is an art, but when it is writing to inform, scientific writing, it comes close to being a science as well. It's not just an art and a way of writing, no. In scientific writing, the aim is to inform by your writing. So your style has to be able to inform and to transfer message clearly. So a good writing style makes the reader comfortable in understanding the information present. لو انت بتقرأ اي حاجة كده ولقيت نفسك محتاج انك تعيد قرايتها مرة تانية او انك اتلخبطت في الكلام اللي مكتوب فقعدت تقراه تاني وتشوف التفاصيل بتاعته يبقى that is not a good writing style, not a simple writing style. So a writing style can communicate an idea clearly and effectively from the first run. So to be able to clearly write, you have to have a clear thinking and understanding of what you are going to inform and what you are going to transfer. So clear writing couldn't be achieved without clear thinking and clear understanding of your experimentation. So you have to write simply and clearly without any ambiguity. And your transition in your writing should be logical translation and flow of ideas from general to focused. And you have to concentrate on making every word and every sentence informative, not just a description or repetition from another way or other. No, every single word and sentence or a paragraph give a message and this shouldn't be repeated and recycled again. So for a good informative writing structures, the words had to be clear, had to have clear meaning, precise, simple, and necessary. If this word could be taken off the sentence without any change of the meanings, then this word is not needed. Okay, you shouldn't put it. In structuring a sentence, every sentence should address one idea, and it should be simple, direct, and short. Avoid any long sentence, because very long sentence is a very, very old way of writing, and not classics for scientific informative writing. On structuring a paragraph, every paragraph should be treated as a single topic with a clear message, and another paragraph is another message. So, regarding the choice of words, strip your sentence to just the words that tell. Avoid any unneeded words. الحقيقة التعليم بتاع الحاجات دي عمره ما هيجي بالكلام. الواحد اتعلم الحاجات دي من النشر. لما بتنشر وبتكتب وبيتراجع لك مراجعات وتلاقي اختيار كلمات معينة وكلمات تاني اتشالت وتحط مكانها كلمات تاني وفريزز كده اتشالت وتحط مكانها كلمة واحدة، فبتبدأ تفهم الفكرة. فاهمني؟ فأحسن حاجة إنك تحاول وتتعلم وتشوف غيرك هيصلح لك إزاي فتقدر تتعلم الكلام ده. فدايما you have to strip your sentence to just the words that tell. Any unneeded word or any word that does not add to the meaning or could be read off without any changing of the meaning is not needed. So avoid words that seldom add anything useful, like very, really, quite, basically, generally, okay? Especially when you are writing methodology. You cannot say some of our patients. Nothing is called some. You have to give a number. Nothing called really, quite. For example, there are many students who like writing. We can say that many students like writings. A simple way that when you hear it, it goes directly to your brain without any need to repeat reading. Avoid deadweight phrase. What meaning of deadweight phrase? Phrases that kill the meaning without any addition, like in the even that, for the most part of that. All this does not add anything to the meaning. Avoid chunky phrases. يعني إيه chunky phrases؟ يعني thick phrases, okay, that could be stripped to a word. Like instead of saying a majority of, it's most, a number of, many, okay, by means of, only by. No need just to use this thick, chunky phrases, and use instead informative, a single word with a lower number of syllables. And the lower the number of syllables, the higher the readability and the effective informative writing style. So in choosing the phrases, avoid any chunky phrase. You have to like the slim version, not the thick version. In constructing a sentence, you have to follow simple English rules: subject, verb, object. Okay. Avoid turning verbs into nouns, because this will necessitate using other adverbs or adjectives, and this add syllable to your sentence, and this make writing more complicated and less readable. And we have to use we have to avoid use negative and passive voices. And positive construction is preferred than passive or negative voices. Let us see examples. Instead of saying provide a review of, just simply use review. I'm providing a review of the literature regarding. Why to say all that? We are reviewing the literature regarding what. Okay. Make a decision. We just decide. Okay. For example, this sentence, the incidence of Brown disease showed 2 peaks period in almost reports. Rates are highest at infancy and adolescence. Big two sentence, big phrase, and instead we can say that Brown disease incidence peaks in infancy and adolescence. More informative, short. Okay, you don't need to repeat reading it again to understand it. Avoid use negative, because negative usually may produce some misunderstanding, especially if negative combined with other negative, okay, or negative adjective after telling it is negative. This make a lot of dilemma during writing, during reading, and may needs to be read again to be understood. He was not often on time. You have to reread it again to understand. He was not often on time. Instead, we can say he usually came late. Okay. So simple. So please, when it is possible, avoid use negatives. For example, she didn't think that studying writing was a sensible use of one's time. But instead, we can say she thought studying writing was a waste of time. زي اللي احنا بنقوله كده. ماشي. Avoid use negatives. Instead of not honest, you can say dishonest. Not important, trifling, does not have, lack. Okay. Didn't remember, forgot. Okay. And also avoid passive tense. Passive tense use is countable. And some journals ask for statistics for the passive tense in your manuscript. And sometimes a higher percentage is rejected. Has a higher percentage of passive tense in your writing, the paper may be rejected and returned to you for correction of your writing style to decrease the and the limits the use of passive tense in your writing. Because every passive construction leaves the reader unsure of who is doing what. It was found that, especially in the material and method chapter in your writing. Material method, you are telling what you did, okay, as an author or authors. So you can say we showed, we did, we went, we counted. Okay, in the results we found. Okay, it is not mandatory at all to tell it was found, it was operated upon. Passive tense usually leave the reader unaware who was doing what you are describing. And also use words with a lower number of syllables. Syllables اللي هي المقاطع اللفظية. مثلا لما نقول conversation تقريبا 3 syllables. Instead of using a big word with higher number of syllables, you have to use words with a single syllable or a lower number of syllables, because this counts on the readability, okay, and the easiness and they inform the effectiveness of your style in transferring message and to be informative, as I will tell you later. As Dr. Khaled Fauzi mentioned, use of punctuation of a very high important to give meaning, to give an ideas, okay? Without aiding words, just by professional use of punctuation, you can add many meaning without adding words to your writing. The writing style is not just a description. It's not just to say you have a good writing style or you don't have a good writing style. No, it could be assessed by the term of readability. Readability. I mentioned this term many times during my talk. And readability is the ability to make your words understandable. Okay? And this is not just a descriptive term. It has statistics. It has scores. Okay? What's called readability statistics or measurements. And these combine words number, sentence number, and syllable number. And that's why I mentioned many times the importance to choose words with a lower number of syllables. Monosyllable or disyllable, but avoid trisyllable and quadrisyllable. One of these very important scores are the Flesch reading ease score, and this is a percentage. The higher the percentage, the easiness of the writing and the easier for text to be understood. And the second is Flesch Kincaid grade level. And this correlate inversely with the Flesch reading ease. So it is a number. And usually, and the number coincide with the US grade level. يعني number 5 معناها grade number 5 during in study. يعني number 12 يعني level ثانوية عامة مثلا. number 6 level 6 ابتدائي. فاهميني؟ فكل ما كان الليفل او الفليش كانكيد جريد ليفل اقل، كل ما كان التكست easy and simple to be understood. But كل ما كان الفليش ريدنج ease اعلى والبرسنتج بتاعته اعلى، كل ما كان الليفل التكست اسهل و understandable. الحقيقه تكست بيبرز جورنالز كتيره قوي لما بتبعت لهم بيطلبوا منك الفلاش ريدنج ايز سكور والفلاش كانكيد جريد ليفل والباسيف سنتنس برسنتج. الحاجات دي بتطلب. طب الحاجات دي نلاقيها ازاي او نعملها ازاي؟ بنلاقيها في الوردز. سهل جدا انك بعد ما بتخلص التكست بتاعك بتعمل ريفيو وتعمل جرامر تشيك. جرامر تشيك وتخلص الجرامر تشيك، وبعد ما بيخلص الجرامر تشيك بيطلع لك على طول التيبل دي، والتيبل دي بتلاقيها فيها الفلاش ريدنج ايز سكور والفلاش كانكيد جريد ليفل والباسيف سنتنس برسنتج قد ايه. والحقيقه هم الاغلب بيطلبوا الحاجات دي وليهم بارامترز معينه. لو لقيناها لو لقوها يعني مش الستاندرد اللي مطلوب في الجورنال، البيبر بتاعتك returned to correction for corrections. لو مثلا هنا لقينا التكست ده هنلاقي الفلاش كانكيد جريد ليفل بتاعه 11 و9، يعني ليفل ثانويه عامه، ده ليفل عالي قوي. فلاش ريدنج ايز 37 قليل قوي. فدايما هما بيبقوا عايزين الريدنج ايز يبقى عالي والفلاش كانكيد جريد ليفل يبقى قليل. وسهل قوي انك تعرف الجريد ليفل ده بانك بتشوف سنوات الدراسه وبيتناسب، لان الرقم ده بيعكس سنوات الدراسه الاساسيه. والباسيف سنتنس طبعا برسنتج، وهم احيانا يطلبوا انها تبقى اقل من 25 اقل من 30% وهكذا. عشان كده مهم قوي انك في كتابتك تراعي الكلام ده عشان توصل بالسكور ده للمطلوب. تقلل النمبر اوف ووردز بير سنتنس، تقلل النمبر اوف sentences، تقلل السيلابلز او اليوز اوف multi syllable words. So the secrets of good writing is to strip every sentence to its cleanest component. Remove every word that serves no function, every long word that could be a short word with a lower number of syllables, every adverb that carries the same meaning that's already in the verb. Okay, so don't transform verbs into nouns to avoid using adverbs. Every negative that cause confusion, and every passive construction that leave the reader unsure who is doing what. Okay. The second part of my talk is how to write an effective introduction. Any paper, any research paper have preliminaries, bodies, and acknowledgement and supplementary material. Preliminaries include title, authors, abstract, keywords. The body includes introduction, methods, results, discussion, references. يمكن هنا review of literature دكتور خالد ناقشها مطلوبة أكتر في الثيسس، عنها في ال research papers، لكن في papers بتتعمل كريفيو of literature. اوكي، احنا هنا مش هنتكلم على الانترودكشن بتاعه يعني هنتكلم على انترودكشن في ريسيرش بيبر. فintroduction, method, results, discussion, references. So there are general rules that applies for editing all these components. Okay, but for every journal it has special instructions to author. يعني في journal هيقول لك الابستراكت لازم يبقى structured، في واحد تاني يقول لك لا الابستراكت is a single phrase، واحد هيقول لك لا الابستراكت ده هتعمله 150 وورد، بيبر جورنال تاني يقول لك 250 وورد. الجورنال الفلاني بيقول لك هتكتب الريفرنس بالطريقه الفلانيه، الجورنال العلاني هيقول لك تكتب الريفرنس بالطريقه الفلانيه. دي specific instructions for every journals to the authors, but usually they are within a bigger frame for general rule that applies for all. فاحنا بنتكلم على الجنرال rules. So in the body of your paper you are telling a story. This story by asking a question that you want to answer it. And then you are doing an experiment to answer the question. Then you present your results. Okay? And then you are discussing the answer. So the question is the function of the introduction. What I'm going to talk about. The question is the function of the introduction. So how to write an effective introduction? We have to state the purpose of study and describe why it matters. انت دلوقتي عايز تقول مقدمة عن موضوع معين، فانت عايز تقول والله احنا عندنا المشكلة الفلانية وهنحاول نحلها بالطريقة الفلانية، فالمشكلة دي أهميتها إيه وصعوباتها إيه، ده اللي أنت بتقدمه. تفرش بتقول والله الموضوع فيه مشاكل كذا وكذا وكذا وإحنا عايزينك نشوف الحل بتاعه كذا وكذا وكذا، والمعضلة دي نقدر نساهم فيها إزاي. فدايما in preparing the discussion you are preparing the reader خلاص for the discussion. In the introduction you are preparing the reader for the introduction بإنك بتشوف التوبيك، بتpresent why this topic is important. Then we are presenting some important, relative, significant background, and end up with asking a question or presenting a hypothesis that your work aim to answer this question, or to solve or disprove or prove your hypothesis. So the primary function of the introduction is to provide background information that reader need to understand your experiments. Just what he needs to understand, not a review of literature. And writing an introduction is not a review of literature, okay? And is not writing a textbook about the topic, is not writing just an information about the topic. It should be a relative information that serve your question. And second, to identify the research question by the end, and this should be attractive and carry some novelty in your job. So you are presenting why your job is important, why it is different, why it has not discussed before, why you are asking the question because there are some dilemma and misunderstanding and you are trying to solve this. So you have to justify why the work is important, because all the respectable journal ask for a novel ideas. So in constructing the introduction, you have to go from what is known, generalized broad ideas, to the unknown, and there is a gray zone in between, and this is your question or hypothesis. So for good introduction, you have to keep introduction focused and brief, طلقة, and relevant to your work. Don't just mention or talk about the topic. And you are doing an experiment in Perthes disease, and in the introduction, Perthes disease is called Legg-Calvé Perthes disease, and it has been discovered and described في سنة كذا ومش عارف ايه. This is not relevant to your work. I can get this information from any textbook. I don't need your paper to get this information. Okay, so in the introduction, just mentioned what is relevant to your work. As I told you, not an extensive literature review. Okay, just summarize the background information only for a specific aspect of your topic, because when you are writing a paper, it is not a textbook. You are not discussing every aspect of the problem or the disease you are describing. No, you are focused to answer a certain question. So your introduction and your review of the literature in your introduction should be focused around and circling around your question only. Use past tense, because you are usually presenting older finding. And present tense is for what is currently true. What is the state of the art now? What is the problem present now? And end your introduction by stating question and general approach, and or by summarizing the principal results and conclusions suggested. Yani you are presenting either a question you want to answer or a hypothesis that you could expect its results, and your study is going to prove or to disprove your expectation. So a good research question is mandatory to end the introduction, and to end the introduction with it. So it should be feasible. That's mean answerable with a robust method. ما ينفعش تتخيل اي question كده وتقول انا هعمل بيبر عن كذا، بس انت ما عندكش الميثودولوجي ولا تملك الميثودولوجي اللي ممكن يجاوب عليه. It should be interesting. Okay, حاجة مهمة. It should be novel. زي ما قلنا الريسبكتبل جورنال ما بتقبلش اي old ideas، لازم تبقى حاجة novel. You are adding something new to the literature. Ethical. This is very important. Sometimes we have a very, very good trial, for example, but it is not ethical. For example, مثلا تاني Perthes disease. عندنا عايزين نقارن الناس اللي مش هنعمل لهم عمليات خالص بناس نعمل لهم عمليات. This is not ethical. لأن في دلوقتي علاج وعمليات، أنا ما ينفعش أحرم ناس من علاج موجود وفي بيبرز وستاديز بتقول إنه فعال عشان أكمبير ناس ما تعملهمش عمليات بناس تعمل لهم عمليات. أوكي؟ فبعض الستاديز ككومباراتيف ستادي أو كده ممكن تبقى انترستنج جدا ونوفل جدا وفيزيبل وانسربل but not ethical. So it couldn't be conducted. And should be relevant because relevance is a prerequisite for most of the respectable journal, because respectable journals or big journals search for اللي هو impact factor, searching for their impact, to raise their impact factor. And raising their impact factor depend on the citation of the papers published in these journals. So your topic, when it is relevant and interesting, this means, and of the current on a current debates, then your paper could be cited many times, and this raise the impact factor of the journal. This helps to get published and for your work to be accepted and published. A poor research question raised from question not important. No one cares about this question, or you are thinking to do a paper, then you are open the data of the patients and try to find a question. No. Data are organized to be retrieved for a question in your mind and not just searching in the data to find a question. This does not give or make a good research question. Common error in the introduction is too much information, a lot of information, a lot of review of the literature, a lot of unrelevant data. random summarization بادئ في الأول بالمشكلة وبعد كده بترجع للجنرال رولز، فالدنيا مش ماشية in a funneling way from what is broad and then more specific. And failure to point out the question as an aim is a poor introduction. So to wrap up, take home message: writing is learned by writing. Writing, writing and try to get published is a complete educational experience, really. And the more you write and the more you try to publish, the more information and the more experience you get. You couldn't get this experience without practicing. So it's practice, practice, practice. You have to choose a good role model or work with someone who is publishing and try to learn from him, just to shorten the way, just to shorten your way. But you have to be at the time the corresponding author for submission of a paper. But also we have a general rules and techniques that we have to stick to it and follow it. And remember, Nobel Prizes researchers have been rejected by journals. في achievement عظيمة اترفضت by journals وبعد كده اتنشرت تاني وبقى زي أقربها عندنا في الأطفال مثلا بونسيتي تكنيك، هي أعظم حاجة في الكلاب فود حاليا. مع ان الراجل صاحبها اجنيسيو بونسيتي لما بعتها في الخمسينات للجورنال اوف بون اند جوينت سيرجري رفضها. اوكي، لكن ما كانش حد هيعرف حاجه عنها لو ما كانتش published. صح ماشي؟ عشان كده but Nobel prizes wouldn't get the prize without publishing، فلازم في الاخر تبقى published. وعشان كده مهم قوي good writing, good construction of any paper. So for a good writing style, it has to be accurate, concise, clear, and cutting, and avoid a lot of words, unneeded words, cutting these unneeded words is the main route for clarity. You have to say what you mean and mean exactly what you say.